the Apple polishing cloth, Apple Watch 7, and AirPods. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Text Expander by Smile, the makers of world-class software. Visit textexpander.com/podcast to learn more and download your free demo. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is MacVoices Live. Goodness, sorry about that. We are back after a week off to talk about Apple stuff, new products and new gear and all kind of things. I'm delighted to be back. It is 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We are in the YouTube chat room at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. That's where you should be too, to comment on what we're doing and how we're doing it. And we'd love to have that input. So if you are joining us today, great. If not, well, maybe next week you can put it on your calendar and get here. So we're starting off, we expect a few more panelists, but for right now, we're just going to go with the stars of the show, taking it in my screen order. Goodness. Sorry, guys. Taking my screen order, as I always do, Mr. David Ginsburg. Boy, I'm off today. David, welcome.
Let you catch up there. Hey, Chuck, great to be back. Well, you were 1 week, and I was going through withdrawal and missed being on the show here. So I'm so glad we're back here to have some fun talking about Apple. There's plenty to talk about.
Well, last week at Showtime, I was just finishing up a drive through the bomb cyclone that was hitting the East Coast. It was an exciting drive, and I was thinking about you guys and thought, don't think I could do a show from the road out here with this. No, not a good idea. Not a good idea. Jeff Gamet is here. Jeff,
Speaking
welcome.
of not a good idea.
No, you're always a good idea.
Oh,
you're always a good idea. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. And Chuck, I know it's only 1 week off, but it felt like forever.
It
did for me too. Yeah. It's funny how that works, but this has become such a regular part of all our routines that, I missed all you guys. Speaking of missing, Mr. Jim Ray is not missing. He is here. Jim, good to have you.
I completely forgot that I'd ever done this before.
Well,
I'm new to the show this week, Jim Ray.
You guys look familiar. Have I seen you somewhere?
In the post office, Jim, on the wall.
Or on a milk carton.
Well, yeah, there's that too. So we have a couple things we want to talk about tonight, but one of the big ones is new Apple products that any one of us might have received. Hint, hint, hint. So I guess the big question is, who got what so far? I know a lot of us have things on order, but what do you actually have in hand? And David, I know you have something in hand, so we're going to start with you.
All right. I have the polishing cloth. So this is an interesting product, I must admit. This is probably one of the thicker cloths I've ever seen. I mean, it's solid. I mean, I know some people may have saw the iFixit teardown, which I found to be very amusing. It came in this small little box, and it's a nice little cloth. That's good for the new screens on the MacBook Pros and anything else. Of course, it's about 10 to 12 weeks out in shipping, so you can't get them at this point for $19. Not a bad thing. Keeps my iPhone nice and clean, and my iPad, and my current MacBook Pro screen. So nothing exciting as a MacBook Pro, which I will be getting from work in about 3 weeks. But there you go. And it's got, of course, it's got to have the Apple logo. I don't know if anybody can see it, but it's right there.
The rest of them are probably all on a ship off the coast from my house.
Could be.
Why didn't you swim out and grab some for us, please?
That's right.
I should change my background to a picture of the ships in the background.
The ships, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, David, is it worth $19?
Probably not. I don't know if anybody. I mean, I've got so many cloths, that are perfectly fine for what they do. But But it's Apple. You gotta, I had to have it. It's a $20 investment here. But no, all seriousness, I probably would say, I don't think everybody's going to need it. All seriousness, they do say that this is rated to work with the new displays that are on the MacBook Pros. So that's why they introduced it. I don't know if they're going to, we were just talking about pre-show, if it's going to come with the MacBook Pro. I would tend to doubt it, but this was also the similar cloth, I guess, was being used for the Pro XDR displays and the iMac. I don't know if it came with the iMac or not, but
if that came with the new MacBook Pros, it wouldn't be available for $19.
That's true.
It seems to me at one point the MacBook Pros, they said, were glass, and you could just clean them like glass. Did that change at some point, or?
I don't remember that ever being the case. I even remember when they shipped iClear with the optic grade cleaning cloth and this little spray bottle right in the, well, at that point it was the PowerBook packaging. And they've always been very clear about you can't use like traditional glass cleaners on your display. That will ruin it.
I don't think they wanted Windex, but there's this foam glass cleaner that is just glass cleaner that they were like, yeah, that's fine.
Wow. I don't remember that. But to be fair, I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday.
Beans.
Jeff, I'm like you. I don't remember that. I mean, I know there's always a lot of concern, I think, about any of the new electronic screens, whether it's, the screens in your car or your new big screen TV or whatever is, exactly what should you use on it. And that's where some of these specialty electronic devices, products have come out for screen cleaning. But I don't remember just, anybody ever saying, treat any of these just like glass. Well, not sure.
Yeah, I don't remember. What I want to know is the material that Apple is using so radically different that products like who makes the awesome little keyboard covers, Radtech, can you not use a Radtech screen or keyboard cover cleaning cloth on your MacBook Pro display now? I mean, of course you can use it, but is it safe to use?
Yeah, it is, because I just put a link of our actual item for sale, and it has their complete compatibility list, and it's the long list: iPhone, iPad, MacBook Pros, iMacs, displays. So Apple endorses that it's compatible with all these devices.
Well, I mean, like the Radtech cloth. Can you use that on the new displays?
Good question.
The Radtech cloth, I have the page up right now. It says right now it's only up to the 16-inch MacBook Pro 2019-2020. So I would imagine they're in the process of figuring that out and updating it. Before we go farther, I want to make sure that our viewers know that Andrew Orr has joined us. Andrew, good to have you back as always.
Hey, I made it. Good to be here.
We're just talking about who got what new products, and you seem to be one of the ones that scored biggest and best, at least so far.
Yes, I got the Apple Watch Series 7, and I also decided to get the AirPods that were recently announced. I do have the AirPods Pro, but I was kind of tempted to get these new ones too.
Okay, so what made you, if you had the AirPods Pro, why did you want these? Are they a backup, or do you see some feature that they have that you like better?
I think these are mostly a backup. So my AirPods Pro, they had that problem that Apple has officially announced where it's like some background buzzy noise. I noticed this when after a while, I noticed this when I activated either the cancellation, the noise cancellation, or the transparency mode. And Apple does have a repair program for this. I've just never really gotten around to sending that in.
Yeah, I did it.
So I just decided, well, in the meantime, why didn't I get these?
Okay. So how do you like them? I mean, what is your experience so far?
I do like them. Yeah, I do miss the noise cancellation. I think that is helpful in certain situations where I'm listening to something and I'm also, doing something loud, like doing the dishes or maybe going for a walk through town. But in my opinion, I think the audio does sound a little bit better than even the AirPods Pro in the past. Like there's more bass that I notice, and the sound, like I'm not an audiophile, so I can't really say anything specific, but the sound overall just sounds more full to me, if that makes sense.
Now, is that for music, Andrew, or are you just talking about normal phone calls or whatever?
I've noticed this in music and the podcasts that I listen to.
Okay. Very good. Anybody else have new AirPods? Nope. Okay.
Yeah, with AirPods Pro, I couldn't come up with a good reason why I needed the new AirPods.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have a set of the original, the older AirPods, not the newly released ones, along with my Pros. And, I find that they're both good for different things as far as I'm concerned, but mainly because I tend to wear them so often, so much during the day that I need to let one set charge while I'm using the other. So if I really need the noise cancellation or want the slimmer fit, if you will, then I'll make sure that's the one that is charged for those uses. Otherwise, I'll just use them interchangeably. So, but Andrew, one other question that I'm really curious about. I haven't seen a lot of discussion about this either. But there has been a little discussion of the fact that they look a little different, so therefore we would think that they would fit maybe a little different. Do you find any difference in those compared to the AirPod Pros?
So they do look different. The design is similar to the AirPods Pro, except that they don't have the rubber ear tip at the end. For me, for my ears, I've always felt that the AirPods were comfortable. This is going back to the regular EarPods of old, right? Like that design, just something about it has always been comfortable for me. I've tried other headphones in the past where they're in ear, and I don't know I don't know if my ear canals are small or what, but other EarPods have made my ears just uncomfortable, I guess. But even the AirPods Pro with their tips, they felt comfortable for me. And so with these new AirPods, they combined the design of the AirPods and the EarPods. And so, to me, it's still this is great.
Okay. So, Jeff, I know you said you have AirPods Pro. David, you have AirPods Pro or?
I have the AirPods Pro. I also have the first generation AirPods I use as a backup. But I was just going to make the comment. I did get my AirPods Pro replaced by Apple for that crackling sound. So it was a very seamless process. They took my AirPods Pro and they had to do a test. It was about an hour. I had to wait, and then they tested them, and then they immediately just gave me a new pair of the AirPods Pro themselves. I kept the case, so it was pretty easy. As long as I believe they had to have been purchased prior to October of 2020. So if you purchased them after that date, they may not cover it.
So,
see, for me, I think I did purchase mine before that date, but my problem is the closest retail Apple store to me is 3 hours away. So I just didn't really, I guess, want to go through the hassle of trying to mail them in and, having that delay and whatever.
Sure.
Jeff, you were going to say something.
Oh, Dave, I was curious about the crackling sound.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly when were you hearing it?
It happened actually while we're doing this show a few times. I would have I thought I had the volume up too high, so I would turn the volume down. But it would, anytime I would start speaking, it would actually crackle as I was speaking. I would hear it like it was like picking up my voice for some reason. When I would hear you guys or anything else, it sometimes would crackle. But I think that was really where I started noticing right away. I'm like, wow, this just started, because it was fine up to that point. So it just was recently, within the last couple months, that I noticed it. Because I had them, I bought them when they first came out, which was in October of 2019. So I had them for 2 years now. So I did. That's when I noticed it.
Interesting. I think I've been experiencing the problem and assuming it was just how the tips were fitting in my ears, and it was making the silicone vibrate. And apparently, sometimes I'm just kind of lame and don't realize that a problem is actually a problem. Great. Well, that's another thing to add to my to-do list.
Yeah, just bring them in. They'll run an audio test on them, and they'll determine right away that they're failed. I mean, I was also using some aftermarket, third party tips on them too. So when I was using them, that's what I was using. I've reverted back now to the standard Apple ones that are in my ear now. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I tended out it because Apple tested it and they found them to be defective. So based on the criteria they had for that program. So. But it definitely was crackling.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Smile, the makers of Text Expander, a world-class productivity utility. I've told you about how I use Text Expander as an individual who has lots of projects going at any given time, and a few of the ways it helps me get done what I need to get done and what I want to get done. But if you have a team, the importance of Text Expander jumps exponentially. Why? Because each member of your team can now answer customer service inquiries with a high degree of consistency and accuracy. Each member of the team can access the snippets you create to answer sales inquiries, tech support messages, and more. You can be assured that they're giving out the right information to the right people at the right time, each and every time. They can also tap into the power of Text Expander for their own use too, to make sure that any words they frequently misspell are automatically corrected and their email signatures are accurate. And that's just the start. What snippets would you create for your team, knowing that they can have instant access to them and that you can update them at any time? I want you to find out what Text Expander can do for your team right now by going to textexpander.com/podcast. Sign up for a 30-day free trial or just jump right in. You will wonder how you ever lived without Text Expander. Again, that's textexpander.com/podcast. Thanks to Smile, the makers of Text Expander, for being the longest-running sponsor of MacVoices.
Great.
Webb in the chat room says, I also had the same crackling problem with the AirPods Pro and had them ultimately replaced at the local Apple store.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2 out of, let's see, well, Jeff, if you have it too, that's 3 out of 4 of us. And I'm the Lone Ranger that has not had the problem.
Right. And yours are probably the original models from 2019.
Maybe so, yeah. But I've had absolutely no issues with them. So,
yep.
Jim, how about you? Are you an AirPods person of any stripe?
I'm really not. I have an original pair, and I haven't used them for I don't know how long. I carry them around. They're in my pocket all the time. I should check and see if they have any charge. But I've never really liked anything in my ears. I never was able to use the EarPods with the wires. They would always fall out. And the AirPods were a little bit better, but I still had a problem with them falling out. And I find them kind of annoying in my ear. So when the Pros came out, I thought, well, should I double down for a $250 device? I might not really like. So I use I have Bose 700 noise canceling headphones that I use a lot, and I have this thing called a boomerang that looks like a horseshoe that goes around your neck. That I use that a lot, and I love it. So I think I've kind of dropped out of the Apple listening thing.
Well, for me, I mean, for years I used a set of Etymotics to do the show, and those are ones that they go in, they seal really tight, and I mean, very little sound was getting in. Now, and I'm not sure if maybe I just don't have AirPods that fit properly, but I've never, no matter what AirPods I've had, I don't get that same seal. Now, I guess my expectations were that I wouldn't. So I get, some ambient sounds around. I mean, it still definitely cuts out some of the outside noise. And definitely, again, with the noise canceling, I definitely notice a difference. But for the most part, these just, but on the other hand, I can shake my head around. I'm not going to do it now because I'll probably fall off the chair.
No,
But
do it,
I can
Chuck.
shake.
Do it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah. Workers' comp.
Weren't the Etymotic custom molded to each person's ears?
You could get them that way, but they sold them with different tips. And actually, I picked those up at Macworld, and they gave me a set of extra small tips because apparently I have extra small ear canals. And even those, after a few hours, they got to be okay. I need to let my ears breathe or something. Just got a little bit uncomfortable. So, but I love the sound of them. They sounded phenomenal. But that I always viewed those as something a bit more of as Andrew said, an audiophile solution than for something casual like this. Before we leave Andrew, when you came in, we were discussing the cleaning cloth. And before we leave that, I want to point. David's really proud of his. I want to point. We were kind of making fun of him. What did you say, David? $19.
$19. And I put a link in our chat too.
Okay, and yet Jeff and I both right away were advocating for the RadTech screensavers cloth, and right now they are at $10.99 for one cloth. I'll compare all that to if you go on Amazon and just type in microfiber cleaning cloths, you might get a 3-pack to a 5-pack for somewhere between $8.95 and $12.95. So, I'm not sure. Once again, I'm not sure Apple was as far out of the ballpark as some people would like to make them seem. On the other hand, it definitely does seem to be a premium price for something that is kind of tough to just on the surface ascertain the difference. So, for what it's worth.
And it doesn't have chamfered edges.
What'd you say, Jeff?
And it doesn't have chamfered edges.
Yes. Yeah, or the Apple logo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, you got the other thing we want to talk to you about, though, is you actually have one of the new Apple Watches in hand or on wrist.
I do. I'm wearing it right now. It's pretty nice, I think. I haven't had an Apple Watch in a while. My last Apple Watch, I think I mentioned in Slack, was the Apple Watch Series 2. So this is a pretty big upgrade for me because I eventually I was like, I'm not really using this that much, I don't think, so I resold it. Now I think I hope to use this one more because I'm on this new cellular carrier that was different than it was in the past. And so this one actually, I can add the watch to my cellular connection. And so I can leave my iPhone at home and take the Apple Watch on a walk or whatever. So far I've been enjoying it.
Which one did you get, Andrew?
This is the silver stainless steel with the Milanese watch band, which to me feels pretty fancy and premium.
That seems pretty fancy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stainless steel. Wow.
You splurged.
Yeah, I did.
Says the man who bought the $19 polishing cloth.
Yeah.
Which size did you get, Andrew?
This is the smaller one. I think it's a 41 millimeter now. The screen size, like, it seems good to me. I haven't noticed any issues or negative things about it.
Andrew, I've always gone with the smaller size Apple Watch and been very happy with it.
Well, Jeff, then I don't know. Mine is on order, and I went with the bigger size this time. So I'll let you know how it goes.
I always go bigger size.
I did go into to Best Buy and took a look. They didn't, by the way, they did not have the one I wanted, or I would have, bought it right there. But I was kind of surprised that the difference between the 41 and the 45. It'll be interesting to see once it's on my wrist and I'm using it, how much of a difference there is. But looking at it, it didn't seem to be that bad. And of course, the display they had set up that I couldn't put it on my wrist. The most I could do was hold it sort of beside my existing Apple Watch. But it made me feel a little better about ordering the larger one because it just didn't seem like it was going to be that much of a difference, at least for my wrist.
Agree.
So, who else? I mean, who else has? Anybody else have Apple Watches on order? No. Okay.
So, I also want to point out to people who are listening and watching, something that I saw people were talking about on Reddit. So there's this Apple Watch subreddit, and I was doing a little bit of research, trying to figure out like what are people's views about this, and what are people's like usage with Apple Watches older than the Series 7. And I noticed one thread or a couple of them saying for people who have wrist tattoos, depending on the kind of tattoo, it sounds like they may have issues with the Apple Watch sensor. So from what I understand, it sounds like it might be more with tattoos that are with black ink, because the black absorbs the laser light from the sensor and it doesn't reflect back, which is apparently what the Apple Watch needs. Like it does the blood oxygen reading and the heartbeat reading, and then it has to reflect that light back or whatever to measure it. But thankfully, so I got a wrist tattoo in September. So this is a new one. But thankfully, as I got the Apple Watch, it hasn't seemed to affect anything. Where it sits on my wrist right now, my tattoo is like mostly red and like black lines, but not like solid black. So thankfully, so far, it doesn't seem to be messing with the sensors.
Okay,
I remember that being a discussion when the Apple Watch first came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm wondering, has anyone ever gotten a tattoo where they left an open circle where the Apple Watch sensors would sit?
Maybe.
Anyone is a
I
pretty
can see
large.
that, actually.
No one on this call.
No one on this call. Yep.
No.
Jeff, are you volunteering to do it for the sake of testing?
I am not. And there's actually a story behind why I won't get a tattoo. And the short version is it actually keeps me out of jail. I am not kidding.
Right,
Well, we can't
after
let that
dark,
go.
you have to tell us.
Yeah, we can't let that
This
go.
is for, I will tell this story in the After Dark. So the people that are Patreon subscribers, they get to hear the story.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So
We all have to remember this. We can't let them off the hook.
Someone's going to remember.
yeah. So I'm not we'll talk about it after dark, but I just want to make sure we set this up properly. So not getting a tattoo is keeping you out of jail.
Correct.
Okay. Oh, I'm looking forward to this story. Okay, folks, patreon.com/MacVoices if you want to hear the story about Jeff's tattoo. Because
Jeff's lack of tattoos.
Or Jeff's lack of tattoos. Sorry. Andrew, I'll put you on the spot. Do you mind showing us your tattoo? Your wrist tattoo? I don't want to see any other tattoos.
Specified wrist tattoo.
Yeah, I did that real quick. Yeah.
So I can also share this in the Slack for a more detailed view. So this is my first one. I'm going to get a second wrist tattoo later this month. These are covering up some old ones. So if you can see.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It is a skull. It's supposed to be a skull and poppy flowers.
But there's a little bit of black ink in there, isn't there?
Yes. Most, like I said, this part is the flowers are mostly red with a little bit of black, but apparently that's not enough, I guess, to absorb that laser light.
I think the people who were having problems, they were had sleeve tattoos, or they'd full up right at the top of their wrist. That was where the problem, because it was completely covered wherever you would put the watch. So that's where their issue was.
That's probably true, because that Reddit post I was reading, they did find a solution, but it ended up being they had to put this little dab of what do you call it, like a hot glue gun to cover part of the sensor to make it recognize that the Apple Watch was actually on your wrist, I guess.
So you would actually put it on the Apple Watch sensor?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That'd be a problem for me.
and I know the inks have changed and they've gotten a lot better, because Andrew, I mean, that's a rather colorful tattoo. But I also know that, people, at least in the old days when they got tattoos, after a few years, pardon me, they would often fade. And they not near. Now, today's inks, my understanding is that they stay a whole lot more vibrant the whole way through, if at least for a lot longer time, if not completely. Is that accurate? Do you know?
That I'm sure that is also a factor. As far as I know, I don't know about the actual quality of the ink, but one tattoo artist I spoke to said different colors could also fade at different times. A black tattoo is probably going to last longer than, say, maybe green or blue. So there's also that.
Yeah, tattoos last longer at lower altitudes as well. It turns out the reduced UV protection that you get, like here in Colorado, is a problem for tattoos, and the sunlight causes them to fade a lot faster here.
Okay,
it's interesting. I never heard that before, Jeff.
Should we ask you how you know?
You can ask, sure. No, that one I learned from a friend who has a lot of tattoos and was frustrated because they had all these beautiful tattoos, amazing body art, and it was all fading much faster than they expected, and they went and asked their tattoo artist, and they're like, yeah, this is a problem. So, if you want to protect those tattoos and have them last longer, you have to cover them up, which then kind of defeats the purpose of having many of these tattoos.
So, yeah. Okay. I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, just go out and buy a set of a white shirt with white sleeves, and then have the tattoo artist put the designs on there and wear it. That'll solve the whole problem. Or not. I don't know. The Mac Voices panel will be back in the next edition of Mac Voices to take on a listener comment about how we refer to all of these smart devices and the gender of the smart devices and where our biases may or may not come from. That's next time on Mac Voices. I hope you'll join us. Until then, and as always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.